Patreon.com/the Derrick Lamon Experience, your one-stop shop for your gaming news. Of course, this is the Week in Gaming. You can find us initially on Patreon on Saturday afternoons at 2 p.m. on the free feeds on Monday at 9 p.m. That would be Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, etc., etc. Welcome back. It looks like the news is starting to really pick up here as far as gaming goes. We know we have that Xbox Developer Direct coming. Don't know what day it is. I'm recording this on Wednesday the 15th because the next 3 days of mine are all booked up and I have no time to record nor edit, so I got to get this out a little early. There is a rumor that the Nintendo Switch 2 is to be revealed tomorrow. Obviously, what I'm going to have to do if that takes place, because I couldn't save it for the show, what I'm going to have to do is do a whole separate recording in regards to that, if it is truly revealed. If there's an actual video from Nintendo, we've heard apparently there have been some 4K videos uploaded to the Nintendo YouTube channel. If it's a video, it will be a video live reaction. I'm going to try to stay my ass off the internet all day so I don't get anything spoiled. Usually one of my friends will come in the chat and be like, hey, this is what's going on. I'll be like, all right, cool. So I know to stay the fuck off of Twitter. Anyway, welcome back. We like to start the show off with a little something called Grain of Salt, and this comes from WindowsCentral.com. This is by Jez Corden. So I don't know. Rumors say Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming to Xbox in 2025 as more Xbox games head to PS5 and Nintendo. Speaking on his podcast, Nate the Hate shared new rumors on Xbox future plans, and we can corroborate at least some of them with our own sources. Quote, it's a new year for Xbox, and that means new games. Just earlier this week, Microsoft revealed that its upcoming Developer Direct stream will showcase Doom the Dark Ages, South of Midnight, and a mysterious fourth game that is yet to be revealed. On January 23rd, we'll catch a glimpse of what Microsoft is planning to offer its Xbox platform gamers throughout the year, which also boasts Avowed, The Outer Worlds 2, and Fable, if none end up delayed at least. This is supposed to be a good year for Xbox, and we've got some stuff on them later. Indeed, this year should prove to be something of a blockbuster for Microsoft, with more game launches in a single calendar year than they've ever had previously. We should also see a new Call of Duty later in the year, as well as other surprises from both first-party and third-party publishers across Xbox and PC. If everything holds, Grand Theft Auto 6 will be out this fall. It'll be on Xbox Series X and S. It will not be on PC at launch. Rockstar just doesn't do that. Console at launch, you'll usually get it at PC a year later. As is well known now, by now, Microsoft is also making an effort to put its Xbox games onto other platforms. Today, credible tipster Nate the Hate shared some rumors on his podcast via Nobel for games we can expect to see at PlayStation 5 and the unannounced Nintendo Switch later this year. For Xbox fans, Nate the Hate suggested that Final Fantasy VII Remake is hitting Xbox in 2025, with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth aiming for 2026. I'm going to pause right here. Remake coming, that wouldn't really be a surprise, because the game would be 5 years old. It'll be 5 years old this April, because it came out Easter weekend of April 2020. It was in the beginning of the pandemic, right? I have the collector's edition, and I pre-ordered it from Amazon, but also have the digital version for my PS4. And Amazon sent me an email saying they didn't know if it was going to be delivered on time because of the pandemic. So if Remake came to the Xbox this year, I would not be that surprised. Rebirth coming next year, I don't know. I really don't know. I would imagine that there was some sort of agreement with Sony and Square Enix as far as console exclusivity for a certain amount of time. 2 years just doesn't sound right to me. The game launched February of 24, so for it to come in 2026, I just don't see that happening. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I have heard that apparently the fourth game is Final Fantasy 16. Possibly, I don't know. We're hearing rumors about the new Switch and its power, and there's some leak specs, and again, I don't know how much of that is true. Saying that possibly, excuse me, sorry, some of these newer games, current gen games, are going to be able to run on the Switch too. Don't quote me on that. That's a grain of salt as well. Take it with a grain of salt until something is actually confirmed. According to Mr. Hate, Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 and Halo the Master Chief Collection are both slated for release for the multi-platform treatment, with each game launching on PlayStation 5 and Nintendo Switch 2. I can corroborate independently with our own sources that all of the above is most likely true. It seems that Microsoft isn't stopping there, though. As previously noted by Xbox CEO Phil Spencer, there are no red lines when it comes to the games Microsoft aims to bring to other platforms. I noted an analysis late last year that any Xbox game that is capable of making a good return on investment from going multi-platform absolutely will do so. To that end, I've heard that in addition to above, Hellblade 2, Age of Mythology, and potentially Gears of War 1 Ultimate Edition are also slated for PlayStation 5 this year too. Although I'm unsure if that includes the Nintendo Switch 2, I would expect that most likely it does. If I had to guess that part. If all this is true, and always take rumors with a pinch of salt as plans can change, Microsoft will probably make more money from content this year than it ever has. Microsoft has a vast mountain of first party content in development, with further unannounced titles for 2025 slated for the Xbox Showcase, which typically airs in June. The majority of Xbox's upcoming game slate, if not all of it, will at least be timed exclusive to Xbox and Windows. For most games, PlayStation and Nintendo Switch versions will either be ready to go on launch day or some months after the fact. The studios building these games will enjoy the sorts of income and investment that will help them get to the next level. What remains to be seen is how Xbox hardware can survive no longer having exclusive games as a selling point. Xbox unique features like Xbox Game Pass have so far not proven to be the system seller Microsoft might have hoped for. You could argue that the competition from free to play games and other non gaming time sinks have reduced many people's need to own hundreds of games that make up the service. Microsoft has sought to offer perks like blanket access to characters in games like Valorant and League of Legends to give value even for free to play live service game players. But I'd argue it doesn't go far enough to entice that cohort. Without exclusive games, it's easy to argue that the reason to own an Xbox console have been diminished. Xbox Cloud Gaming may be a saving grace, though, as the service recently hit new milestones, according to our sources. Xbox Cloud Gaming shares a development environment with Xbox consoles, after all. As the service grows, more and more developers will be able to offer content directly on devices like TVs and lower power laptops. Buy to own cloud games will potentially keep Xbox relevant enough to keep developers interested, even if retail console sales continue to flag. Microsoft's next gen consoles currently in development. Xbox future as a content provider has never been stronger. Big question remains over its long term mileage as a platform holder, though. Questions Xbox may be unable to answer. Again, take all of that with a grain of salt until there's actual confirmation. Like I said, Final Fantasy VII Remake coming. I would not be surprised because the game will be 5 years old in the spring. So at that point, it's been on PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 and PC. Rebirth 2026, I would have to say that's a no. I just don't see it that's only 2 years. That's only two years. I just don't see it coming that early. I know you guys are like, that's not that early. Yeah, it actually is. It actually is. Especially for a title of that magnitude and what's been built around that Final Fantasy VII remake trilogy. How big of how big news it was when it was announced that I think that was E3 2016, if I'm not mistaken. That changed everything. Changed everything, and then when we didn't hear about anything or any updates, and then we found out they rebooted development. It's like, are we gonna get this game? And then they still were able to develop it and have it out by the spring of 2020. Um, but this is interesting. I don't know. I don't know. But again, I have heard that that fourth game for the developer direct is apparently going to be Final Fantasy 16. Here's the thing though, if it's an Xbox developer direct, that's not coming from Microsoft developers. That's not Microsoft Gaming. That's Square Enix, which is not part of Microsoft. So I don't know. Could I see it going to Switch too? Yeah, because it ran on the PlayStation 4. It's supposed to be comparable in power to the PlayStation 4, the base one apparently. So we shall see. We shall see. But again, take all of this with a grain of salt until there's actual confirmation. Now, speaking of Microsoft and Xbox and Game Pass, oh boy, this is our top story. This comes from InsiderGaming.com, and I saw a screenshot on Twitter, and then I was like, this is crazy. And then I saw the actual story. I was like, well, I know what my top story is going to be. This again comes from Insider Gaming. Activision purchase hasn't helped Xbox Game Pass report claims. Ooh. Microsoft's purchase of Activision Blizzard hasn't helped it grow Xbox Game Pass or the gaming business in general. According to a new report from The Information, the growth from the acquisition is yet to hit what Microsoft was hoping for when it made the $69 billion purchase. The information claims that Microsoft was hoping that the purchase would help convince more players to sign up for the service as well as push more studios to releasing their games on the subscription based platform. Instead, their sources say that several leading game studios have resisted Microsoft's pitch that they should put their titles on Game Pass in exchange for fees that Microsoft offers to pay to the gaming studios. I'm going to pause right there really quickly. Um, this, as we go further, we're going to hear some things. It should have never gone this far that they had to do this, and there's more to come, but they're in a bit of a pickle. They're in a bit of a pickle, and their consoles being outsold 2-1 at this time. Like, the numbers legit tell you that. The fact that they were pretty much like on the table, like doctors hoping for a pulse, is what I was told and what I've read. Denny Fisher, portfolio manager, oversees funds, including a reported 800 million of Microsoft stock, told the outlet, "quote Activision has been disappointing. Microsoft had targeted reaching 100 million subscribers by 2030. As of February 2024, there were 34 million subscribers, including those who became subscribers after Microsoft converted Xbox Live to Xbox Game Pass Core. Microsoft has failed to hit Game Pass growth targets in each of the last 2 years. That led to Game Pass growth being dropped as a metric that determines CEO Satya Nadella's pay at Microsoft." Um, it doesn't help that I'm not going to say that number was not attainable. What I'm going to say is with Game Pass, when they like at first it was like, well, these are a bunch of games that have already been out, and it's like you would see. I want to say it was 2016 when Game Pass like jumped off, right? And they might have had like NBA 2K 2015 in there and a bunch of third party stuff. And you're like, well, fuck. It's like, who cares? This is last year's 2K. What really got people And what really got people to sink their teeth in the Game Pass is when they said, we're going to give brand new AAA titles at least once a quarter, right? Once a quarter, you're going to get a brand new AAA title from an Xbox gaming studio. And because you're a member of Game Pass at any level, before Ultimate even existed, it's like you're going to get this day and date. Now, the only differences were if there was like a deluxe edition or something like that, or a digital deluxe edition, and you got access to that 4 days early. If you paid for it, right? If you're just playing through Game Pass, you have to wait until the actual release date. So a lot of people were like, "Well, you can't beat that." What it did, though, unfortunately, was cause a lot of people who were exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem to say, whenever games were shown off at trade shows and this, that, and the third, and they'd be like, okay, PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and they'd be like, what about Game Pass? And it's like, well, it's coming to Xbox. Well, what about Game Pass? But it's coming to Xbox. If it ain't in Game Pass, I ain't playing it. They would legit say Game Pass or I'm not playing it. This would be the comment section from people who were exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem and nothing else. If it ain't coming to Game Pass, I ain't playing it. So when they looked up, and it's like, well, why won't Square Enix put Final Fantasy on our console? Well, you guys have flat out said it. It's like they would be like, punch me, punch me, go ahead, I dare you to punch me, and then you punch them and they tell on you, right? So I'm calling fucking cops. It's not the same, but it's a loose analogy, right? Well, why won't they put it on our console? Because all they have to do is look through the comments. Look through the comments. Watch, content creator streams and videos on YouTube. I'm not playing if it ain't in Game Pass. No, we want you to buy the game. We want you to buy the game. Then when Square Enix says, hey, it hasn't really worked out for us, console exclusivity, this, that, and the third, and Microsoft's like, yeah, fuck you guys, because blah, 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 not Microsoft, I'm sorry, Xbox exclusive players. Fuck you guys. You should have put it on Xbox. You guys also said put it in Game Pass. So Square Enix is just so it's like you guys just want Square Enix to take a big check from Microsoft to put Final Fantasy VII Remake in Game Pass. I'll play it day one if it's in Game Pass. Oh, I'm not buying this. So you don't want to invest in the game. You want to pay for the subscription service and just get it that way. I get it. And Microsoft let people get away with it. And then the minute they say, hey, we're taking this away, you're only getting day and date on Game Pass Ultimate. and then it doesn't translate to more people subscribing at that tier, and it also doesn't translate to more subscriptions for the service overall, well, now you've got yourself a fucking problem. Microsoft has failed to hit the Game Pass growth target in each of the last 2 years. That led to Game Pass growth being dropped as a metric that determines CEO Satya Nadella's pay at Microsoft. Meanwhile, the company raises prices while introducing a new tier, Game Pass Standard, that took away day one releases from console subscribers unless they upgrade to Game Pass Ultimate, which I just said. In addition, Microsoft expected more studios and publishers to rent Azure cloud servers for their games. It said that Activision is still using Google Cloud and Amazon Web Services for its server rentals, along with primarily relying on its own servers for development. Well, you guys own Activision now. I mean, if you want to make that change, I think that the fact that they're saying, oh, they still operate independently, they're part of Xbox Game Studios. Maybe not under that header exclusively, but like you are at this point property of Microsoft. So go in there and make the change if you feel that strongly about it. Insider Gaming has reached out to Microsoft regarding the report. Should a response of any kind be received, it will be added to the story. Microsoft is scheduled to announce its quarters two earnings for fiscal year 2025 on January 29th. Um, Questions about Activision not helping Microsoft grow its Xbox Game Pass service along with other areas of the gaming division. Well, apparently, um, and I thought I had this down, but I guess I don't. I know I can find the story, and this really got to me. Just a second. Okay, so here's the rest of this. And I was like, I know I saw this. So this, I had to go to MSN.com, and MSN is a Microsoft product, so it is what it is. Xbox almost shut down in 2021, Game Pass still failing short. According to a report, Microsoft could have shut down Xbox in 2021 had CEO Satya Nadella not decided to give Game Pass a chance. Nadella is often blamed for the Xbox community by the Xbox community for pushing platform exclusive on the rival PlayStation, but if this report is any indication, this is a choice he had to make in order to save Microsoft's embattled gaming division. At some point, it was going to catch up with them, and now we have the proof. The news is brought to us in a paywall report by The Information via Reset Era, which claims that Nadella told at least two people at the time that he could either wind Xbox down or figure out a way to boost Game Pass subscriptions. Nadella chose the latter and is part of the effort acquired Bethesda and Activision Blizzard for a staggering $82.4 billion combined. However, the information suggests that Game Pass is still falling short of its goals. Microsoft is reportedly targeting 100 million Game Pass subscribers by 2030, which means it has to figure out a way to triple its current subscription numbers within the next 5 years. Analysts have told the information that Game Pass isn't enticing as many people and companies as Microsoft hopes. Quote, I just think the majority of the game market doesn't really want a Game Pass, according to Macquarie Science and Technology Fund's Gus Zinn. That said, Microsoft is now a major game publisher, and with Xbox expanding to more platforms, including PlayStation, Game Pass failing to achieve its goals might not spell doom for the business. But again, they've been killing Satya Nadella. Like, let's be real. He basically saved the brand because it could have been bad. They could have shut down in 21. You know what that would have been if they had shut down in 2021? That would have been the same as Sega shutting down consoles. The Dreamcast came out 9/9 of 99. How do I know that? Because it was the same day. Like, that was a big day. September 9th, 1999. The VMAs was that day, and everybody's like, this is the last day the calendar will look like this for God knows how long. So they're like, hey, 9/9/99. VMAs, 9/9/99. The Sega Dreamcast comes out. What happens? The very next year, I want to say October of 2000, the PlayStation 2 comes out, and it starts eating into any little momentum that the Dreamcast had built up. And Sega was like, you know what? No, this console thing ain't for us. We'll still develop games, but we're going to be a publisher. So Sonic the Hedgehog will now appear on Nintendo, and Mario and Sonic were direct rivals, even though they're both inanimate cartoon and video game characters. They were direct rivals, and now they will exist on the same platform. And Sonic will, will be on PlayStation as well. Again, 9999. The Dreamcast came out. 2001, Sega was out of the console business. November of 2020, the Xbox Series X and S come out. 21, they could have been out of the console business. Like that tells you like something was not working up there, and Game Pass did not help. You cannot give people stuff for free and then ask them to pay for it. They set the market for their own console. And then it was like, well, it's coming to PC. That's basically Xbox. It's not, it's PC. Now they're talking about on their new console, they're going to allow Steam on their dashboard and stuff like that. What are you doing? What are you doing? Now, I guess they would have to Steam pay a fee or something like that, or like I don't know how this works, but this just does not look good. Um, Nobody wants Microsoft to shut down if they want quality games. You do need competition breeds creativity, right? If if Sega hadn't threatened Nintendo in the 90s, Nintendo would have continued price gouging everyone. They would have continued. If Sega hadn't threatened them, then Sony wouldn't have jumped in the business. When Nintendo screwed Sony over, and then I think they went with Philips for that little CD console that never came out, and then they let Philips make a Zelda game and a Mario game, and they look absolutely atrocious, right? They only wanted a CD peripheral because Sega had the Sega CD. Two iterations of it on the Genesis, right? If Sega doesn't make a dent in Nintendo's market share, it would be a monopoly. It would have been a monopoly. Nintendo used to you had to buy the cartridges from Nintendo. They put these chips in that locked out developers, who didn't pay, and like they had all these business practices, and your game had to do this, that, and the third to meet the Nintendo seal of quality and get that on their game and all this stuff. They were bullies. I understand why they did it because Atari had really fucked up, and people were just making shovelware and putting it on Atari, and Nintendo was like, "You're not gonna do that. You're not gonna do that over here," because it did kill the video. It killed video games. It killed the home console market because Atari let people do anything and everything that they fucking wanted with their console. And Nintendo, I understand, said, "Hey, we can't let this happen." But in conjunction with that, they got heavy-handed, they got arrogant, and they basically said nobody can fuck with us, so we're gonna do what we want. And it took a guy named Tom Kalinske saying, "Hey, this Sonic game you guys are working on is really cool. So what I want to do is drop the price of the console, and instead of selling Sonic the Hedgehog, I want to put it in with every Sega Genesis purchase." Wait, what? What? The Sega board of directors, Sega of Japan, was like, "Have you lost your fucking mind? Have you lost your mind?" They had to trust him. They trusted him, and it worked out in their favor. But at the end of the day, Sega of Japan and Sega of America, they operated like two totally different entities, and Sega of Japan got pretty jealous, and that's what led to the demise and downfall of Sega as a console maker, right? Um, but again, tying it all back together, if there's no competition, then you don't have a level playing field. Even if somebody's getting their head kicked in, you know that other option is always out there. You know that option is always out there. If Microsoft exits the console business and there's only, they'll be like, well, there's the new Switch and there's the PlayStation 5. Yes, but the Switch is not as powerful as the PlayStation 5, and it can't do what a PlayStation 5 can do. PlayStation 5 also can't do what a Switch can do. Now, it depends on what that PlayStation handheld is going to be like. Because they've obviously pushed updates to the PlayStation Portal and they've improved that, right? Because now you can stream the games directly. You don't have to like stream it from your PlayStation 5. Um, but it's just very interesting to find out that this was actually on the table, and people will be like, "No, Microsoft's doing better than ever. This is bullshit." Da 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 da. And it's like, well, apparently they weren't. Apparently they weren't. And it's like, oh, well, why are they putting their games over there? It's $80 billion. And I've already said I'm not gonna say, my famous catchphrase from the past couple of years. It's $80 billion. It's $80 billion. That's a lot of money to invest and not see a return on it. So I've got to figure out a way to get this money back. I got close. I didn't do it though. In other news, also from Insider Gaming, there's an exclusive. Apparently, Assassin's Creed Black Flag Remake is closer than you think. We first got wind of Assassin's Creed Black Flag Remake earlier this year, and information sent to Insider Gaming suggests the game could be coming sooner than you might think. When rumors of the Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake began to circulate on the internet, many, including ourselves, assumed the game would still be some years away from releasing. However, new details and documentation in the game sent to Insider Gaming under the condition that it does not go public suggest the game is well into development and could be released much sooner than we all thought. In fact, prior to the recent Assassin's Creed Shadows delay, which is understood to have affected the Assassin's Creed pile of content releases, Assassin's Creed Black Flag remake, codename Obsidian, was that's interesting because there's apparently an Elder Scrolls remake that's coming, and it just Obsidian reminded me of that. Anyway, was to be released around November of 2025, which would be around the same time that the series multiplayer offering codename Invictus is to be released. Insider Gaming understands this is part of Ubisoft's ramp up strategy for the Assassin's Creed series, which will see around 10 Assassin's Creed titles of various lengths and experiences released in the next 5 years. Whoa, pause right there. 10 games over the next 5 years. That is entirely too much. The reason people got tired of Assassin's Creed as a franchise and the reason they had to do a soft reboot and make it an RPG was the fact that they released a title annually and people were like, this is too much. You got to take some time, let us miss the game, and then show us what you've been working on. When they rebooted it with Assassin's Creed Origins and then Assassin's Creed Odyssey and then Valhalla, which led to, Shadows and all this stuff, people were happy. Now, they were doing about a year off in between. I think they could go a little longer. 2 years wouldn't be bad. But to say you're going to do 10 games in 5 years, that's insane. That's insane. 10 Assassin's Creed titles in the next 5 years. That equates to like two games per year. So unless one's going to be mobile and one's going to be the mainstay title, I don't know what they're going to do. But there is a such thing as oversaturation. I really need people to understand that. I really, really need you guys to understand that. Anyway, this includes Assassin's Creed codename Jade, a fully fledged mobile offering with a tentative date in Q2 of 2025, fiscal year 26. Unfortunately, though, the recent Assassin's Creed Shadows delay, which Mark Alexis Cote said to said staff in an internal email, will also impact the rest of Assassin's Creed roadmap. May have skewed these dates a little. That being said, to some, the Black Flag remake is probably coming a few years earlier than some of us may expect it. Gameplay sent to the Insider Gaming of the Black Flag remake under the condition that it does not go public shows Edward Kenway sailing a ship on the upgraded Anvil engine. For people who are a fan of Black Flag, congrats, I suppose. If it was one of my favorite games getting remade, I'd be very, very happy. I remember Assassin's Creed Black Flag is actually the first one I tried to play, and I was like, no, I'm not a fan. I remember seeing it. I remember all the hype around Assassin's Creed and Assassin's Creed 2. And I was like, I'm going to check that game out. And I didn't. I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. And I said this about a lot of games. I'm going to check that out eventually, and I never get to it. My cousin ended up living with me, and he was an Assassin's Creed nut. So I come into the living room, and he's playing it. And I was like, what is this? He's like, it's Assassin's Creed 2. And I was like, wait, this is the game that everybody's hyping? And to me, I was just like, nah, this is it. So what happened was when the Xbox One released, my little bro, young Isaac, he had marked my Xbox as his home console before he had one, and then he ended up buying it. And one day these games show up. I was like, what the fuck is going on? I didn't buy these games. It's like Grand Theft Auto 4 or Grand Theft Auto 5, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and all this stuff. And it took a while for us to figure it out. So then I was like, well, it's on here. I might as well try it out. And I did, and I was not impressed. It just isn't for me. But for the people who really love that game, I hope that you guys get it. Same way every year, around the former E3, which I call game season, there's those people who are like, yeah, this is the year that Metroid Prime Trilogy gets released and announced for the Switch. And then I'm like, temper your expectations. And every year they're disappointed. If that ever really happens and they get that game, I'm going to be very, very happy for them because I know how long they've been campaigning for that game. However, it just ain't for me. Not Metroid Prime Trilogy. I would love to play Metroid Prime Trilogy, an updated remake version of that. But, Assassin's Creed, skew away from those. And Shadows looked really cool, and then they turned the HUD on. I was like, why does this look so cool? Oh, because they basically copied Ghost of Tsushima. In my opinion. I don't know. I'm asking people, I was like, y'all don't see this? I was like, this doesn't look very similar to Ghost. And somebody was like, oh, fuck. And that's probably why everybody thought it looked so good. It's like when you hear a song and it's sampled a song that you loved. It's like, this is a good song. It's like, maybe not. It's just sampling a song that you really, really fucking like. And I think that's why, like, and not to shit on Shadows. We don't know because the game's been delayed again. Um, but I hope it does well, I guess. I don't know. In other news, also from Insider Gaming, Metal Gear Solid Delta to release on the Nintendo Switch 2 this year, it's claimed. This would be very interesting. It appears that Konami is set to release Metal Gear Solid Delta on the coming Switch 2 this year, according to the leaker Nate the Hate, who's been in the news for his other Switch 2 reports this week, of course. This news from his latest podcast, which also says that Nintendo will reveal its Switch 2 console this week. Again, I'm recording this on Wednesday night. They're saying this is supposed to happen on Thursday, and all day people have been waiting on a tweet from Nintendo, this, that, and the third. And even Walmart, I think, was it Walmart Canada or somebody fucked up and, kind of tweeted out a picture of Mario, like, peeking behind the curtain, like the picture of Mario when the Switch was revealed. So everybody's like, it's really happening. As of the time of me recording, as of right now, still nothing from Nintendo. Still nothing from Nintendo. So if it doesn't happen tomorrow, I would not be surprised. It's actually better for me because I will be busy and cannot cover it in the capacity that I want to cover it in. So anyway, back to Nate the Hate. Other third-party games I've heard include Metal Gear Solid Delta, which is coming out in 2025, Nate the Hate said. Right now, it lacks a release date for all platforms, and I'm hopeful that maybe it's a day-and-date release when it does come to Switch 2, because if that game, let's say, comes out in the summer of 2025, there's no reason it shouldn't be day-and-date. I'm going to pause right there. He also said that there's supposed to be Mario Kart. Maybe he didn't. Or maybe he did. I think it was him. Mario Kart 9, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, and Red Dead Redemption 2 apparently will be coming to the Switch all this year, all within the window of the release of the console. I'd have no problem with that. Somebody asked me how I feel about that. I told them like this: I've got Red Dead Redemption 2 on PC. I have Red Dead Redemption 2 on Xbox, and I also have Red Dead Redemption 2 on PlayStation. If you think that I'm not also going to buy it on the Switch, you are out of your goddamn mind. Of course I'm going to do that. I have Red Dead Redemption on PlayStation, Xbox. I need to get it on Switch and PC. Actually, yeah, dude, I'm bugging. Um, there are certain games I will buy it on any platform it's available. I've got Final Fantasy VII on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch. Like, I love Final Fantasy VII, right? So, same thing goes for Red Dead Redemption 2. In addition to Metal Gear Solid Delta, Nate the Hate says that Ubisoft will be releasing a number of games on the new system. Those games reportedly include Assassin's Creed Shadows, Assassin's Creed Mirage, which we just talked about, The Division, and even Rainbow Six Siege. Um, hmm. Let's go ahead and push Assassin's Creed out of that because we just talked about that. The Division and Rainbow Six Siege are online shooter, multiplayer, whatever you want to call it, right? If they're going to release those games on the Switch 2, Nintendo better definitely be revamping Nintendo Online. And the only thing I really, really want, do I want a more powerful console? Yeah, sure. Would I like to see Nintendo foray into 4K? Absolutely, sure. Do I think it's going to happen based on the specs I saw? Probably not. But the DLSS is supposed to be really awesome, given the fact that the Switch 2 is built on NVIDIA architecture. So everybody's like, well, DLSS, how's that going to work? It's built on NVIDIA architecture. That's how it's going to work. Um, but, excuse me, I really don't know how they're going to pull this off. I'm optimistic. I'm very optimistic. But again, they would have to completely overhaul the Nintendo online services in order for people to play Rainbow Six Siege and The Division on there. Right? Like, even to play Mario Kart in Splatoon, it could use a huge overhaul. And those are Nintendo first party IP. To support somebody else's, a totally other different developer and publisher to support their online games, you've got to change that. Especially if crossplay is going to be enabled. Because it's not like Fortnite is going to make, like, Fortnite's not going to graphically blow anybody's socks away. So crossplay on that between Switch, PC, Xbox, PlayStation, not that big a deal. Unless you have the updated version for the Series X and the PlayStation 5 and PC, I guess. But at the same time, okay. But when you're talking about games like this, we don't have to look back that far. 2023, the Mortal Kombat 1 fiasco. The way it looked on PlayStation 5 and Xboxes compared to the Nintendo Switch. Oh boy, very, very bad. So we don't have to look that far back. All right, so I don't know. This could have gone in grain of salt as well. Technically, it could have, but I just want a release date for Metal Gear Solid Delta. That's all I ask. Because I don't like. I have the Metal Gear Solid HD collection on Xbox, and for the Metal Gear Solid Volume 1 collection, I did not know you could buy games basically a la carte from that on the PlayStation Store. I was like, oh, well, I'm definitely buying this. But I don't want to play it with the tank controls. I have Resident Evil HD. I don't want to play it with the tank controls. I tried. It's completely fucking unplayable after playing Resident Evil 2 Remake, Resident Evil 3 Remake, and Resident Evil 4 Remake. It is unfucking playable. And anybody that tells you otherwise is out of their fucking mind. Alright? So I don't want to play with the tank controls. So I just want to play Metal Gear Solid Delta. I've been playing a lot of fucking Astrobot, let me tell you. Because I got it for my daughter for Christmas, but I don't think she's even played it. I've played a ton of it. And that is a good fucking game. And I see why it won Game of the Year, and I see why it won 103 other fucking game awards in 2024. It's really that fucking good. But anyway, neither here nor there. As far as these claims about Nate the Hate go, as always, none of the above information has been confirmed until it is, or Insider Gaming can independently verify. Please take it all with a grain of salt. Again, this should have been at the top of the show. Metal Gear Solid Delta 2 coming to the Switch, though. I think that would be pretty cool. The Switch 2, I'm sorry. Switch 2. Um, what else do I have? Really quickly, I want to go over this. This isn't old, it's new news, but it's old news at the same time. This coming from VideoGamesChronicle.com. The Last of Us Part 2 on PC will, I repeat, I repeat once again, will require a PlayStation Network account to play. Naughty Dog's game is the latest PC title to require PSN login. Sony has confirmed that when The Last of Us Part 2 comes to PC in April, it will require a PSN account to play. Again, everybody, it's going, PlayStation's going day and date too. The Last of Us 2 came out June of 2020. It is just now coming to PC. Or maybe just the remastered version. Um, I have to check on that. Maybe it already came and now just the remastered version is coming to PC. I don't know. Anyway, the game, which is now available to wishlist on Steam and the Epic Game Store, will be released on April 3rd. It's the latest Sony PC title to require a PSN account, a decision that's proved controversial in the past. Old news, but also new news. While this has been the case for some multiplayer titles, such as the now defunct Concord, the inclusion of strictly single-player titles have previously attracted the ire of players. Other than the requirement of a second account, the fact that PSN is not available in many countries would, in theory, preclude players in many regions from playing the game. Sony does need a reverse decision on this. I'm sorry. If it's a single-player title, you should not have to sign into PSN. If you want the trophies, I get that end. Which, also, while we're at it, really quickly, there are some. I was like, I'm gonna get Spider-Man and Spider-Man Miles Morales and Spider-Man 2 on PC, and they're like, yeah, but you don't get to get the trophies again. You've already got them. And I was like, wait, what? Because I've platinum all three games, right? So they're like, you don't get them again. There needs to be a separate list of trophies for PC versus console. However, I did find out there are Steam achievements, so I probably will play it just to get the Steam achievements. I don't fucking know. Anyway, other than requirements of a second account, the fact that PSN is not available in many countries, in theory, preclude players in many regions from playing the game. The backlash to the PSN inclusion in Helldivers 2 was such that Sony itself U-turned to remove the requirements, saying at the time it was learning what's best for PC players. Remember, Helldivers 2 came out February of last year, so we're almost a year since that release. So if you did a 180 on that, then why would you go right back to the well? I don't know. For online games, I get it. For single player games, I do not. When the requirement was added for the PC version of God of War Ragnarok, one player even created a mod which removed the requirement, but it was taken down at the creator's request in case of action from Sony. The Last of Us Part 2 Remaster was released on PlayStation 5 in January of 2024 and enjoyed a Metacritic score of 90, as well as a remastered version of the 2020 PS4 adventure. It includes a trio of lost levels, which feature playable sequences previously cut from the game, as well as a roguelike survival mode called No Return. There's like 3 sections that were cut from the initial game that you get to play, and they're not like chock full of shit. They're really, really like it's like outside the party where Ellie and Dina kiss. There's a sewer portion, and I forget what the other one is, but it's nothing like huge. The no return mode is fucking dope, though. We'll tell you that. Players who pre-order the PC version will receive 2 in-game items early: the ammo capacity upgrade and the crafting training manual. VGC's The Last of Us Part 2 Remaster review called it the best way to play one of the best games ever made, and HBO has premiered the latest look at Season 2 of its live-action The Last of Us show and confirmed a release month of April, so be on the lookout for that. Now, in other news, and this actually should have gone at the top of the show too, and I apologize, but the rumors of another AAA studio at PlayStation have come to fruition. Not fruition actually, because we don't know what the hell they're doing yet. There was some years back where there was a AAA studio. Um, it wasn't. It was some. It was somewhere in California, and there was a rumor that they were going to be working on the next Uncharted game because, as we know, Naughty Dog is like, yeah, we're kind of not doing, we're off that. We're not doing that anymore. So this new studio was supposed to be working on a new Uncharted game in conjunction with Naughty Dog and maybe Bluepoint. Like everybody was going to help out. We still don't know what the hell Bluepoint Games is working on. By the way, I just want to point that out. Anyway, this comes from PlayStationLifestyle.net. PlayStation making groundbreaking AAA original IP at new studio. Sony is developing a groundbreaking AAA game for PlayStation at a new undisclosed studio based in Los Angeles. It'll be an entirely new intellectual property, according to a job description making rounds online. Job ad in question is for project senior producer at PlayStation and reveals that the select candidate will work in office at a quote newly established AAA studio based in Los Angeles. The ad further reveals that the unnamed studio is making the quote next groundbreaking AAA original IP. There's an emphasis on a high caliber game that is further stressed in the qualification section. Sony wants someone who has shipped multiple AAA titles, indicating that this will be a big budget blockbuster type game. There's a deviation situation and some other stuff. Sony has shut down a couple of, actually quite a few, 3 studios. Concord Studio, Deviation, Japan Studio, technically, which basically was reformed in a team of Sobi. They've shut down a couple of studios in recent memory, going from like the PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 generation. I do remember that. As for the new studio, speculation suggests that the internal team is led by none other than Call of Duty veteran Jason Blundell. Blundell was previously leading Deviation Games, which shut down without ever releasing the PS5 exclusive that it was working on. However, several former Deviation staff members revealed on LinkedIn that they had moved to PlayStation, where they are working under Blundell. Sony never revealed its Deviation PS5 project, which has been canceled. It's not reportedly, it has been canceled. We don't know what that game was. However, Herman Holster, whoever the hell saw that game, saw enough that they said this ain't gonna cut it. I would hope that they did not, I repeat, did not send Bungie to check out the game, because right, wrong, or indifferent, we don't know what that Last of Us game, online game, was. All we know is that Bungie apparently told Sony, it looks good, but you're not gonna make any money off of this. Because it didn't look like it was sustainable in an online AAA type of atmosphere. Bungie said that, and then Bungie went on to miss revenue targets for Destiny 2 expansions. And then we go to find out a little after that the head of Bungie has this incredible classic car collection, but people at the studio weren't being paid, and they were having all these issues, and people were being laid off. Bungie should not be authorized to tell anybody what's going to make any money, seeing as how they're not making any fucking money or making the money they should have been making. So yeah, I don't know what the studio is working on. I don't know who's working on the Horizon multiplayer. I don't know if that's Guerrilla directly. I heard that they want to have like 100 players in game at the same time or something like that. I don't know how that's going. I don't know. Never mind. I don't know. Again, we don't know what Bluepoint's working on. We don't know what Housemarque is working on. I don't know if it's going to be a sequel to Returnal. We really don't have a roadmap for the remainder of the PlayStation 5. We now know that Ghost of Yote is coming this year, and we know that Naughty Dog is working on Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, and apparently some other single player titles. But we don't know when this stuff is going to release. We have no idea. And the funny thing is, I remember Sony not showing up to E3 2019. They were like, "We don't have anything to show. We showed you everything." Like, when are we going to see something from Wolverine from Insomniac? What happened to the Spider-Man 2 DLC that was going to come that we know existed because it was in the coding when the coding was busted open by people online? Um, don't get me wrong, I love my PlayStation 5. I love my PlayStation 5 Pro, but you got to give us a reason to turn the goddamn thing on. Same thing I said about Microsoft when they released the Xbox Series X. It's like, this is cool, but you sold me a $500 paperweight. Give me a reason to turn the goddamn thing on. We got to figure this out. We have to figure this out. And for both Sony and Microsoft, fuck that. You both have a vast wealth of studios. While somebody's in the kitchen cooking, somebody should be putting the meal on the plate and delivering it to the customer at their table. We don't know what Sony Bend is doing. Days Gone came out April of 2019, the same day that Avengers Endgame came out. It's 2025. What the fuck are you guys working on? How is it that Ghost of Yote is coming this year and Ghost of Tsushima came out July of 2020? And Sony Bend released the game a year and 3 months prior to that, and we still don't know what the fuck. We don't even know what their game is. Now, due to like leaked artwork and stuff like that, it's supposed to be a shooter. Give us a goddamn trailer or something. Now Sony's operating under this new thing that they don't want to show anything until they're closer to release. So are you saying that Intergalactic is coming sooner than we thought? It's like, oh, well, we got Death Stranding 2 coming. That's a Kojima game. And while he did work in conjunction with Sony on publishing, that Death Stranding 1 is now on Xbox. Like, that's a Kojima game. And to be completely honest with you, I want to see more because I don't want to be walking around acting like a UPS, Amazon, or FedEx delivery guy. There's way too much walking going on in Death Stranding and way too much bullshit. So I don't know. Anyway, lastly, congratulations. I talked about Astrobot earlier. Astrobot and Helldivers 2 headline the 2025 DICE Award nominations. The Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences, AIAS, has revealed its nominees for the upcoming 28th Annual DICE Awards. Candidates for the ceremony's best game include Team Asobi's Astrobot, Arrowhead's Helldivers 2, Local Thunk's Balatro, Game Sciences, Black Myth Wukong, and Machine Games Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Congratulations to everybody, specifically Team Asobi. Astrobot is phenomenal. And also Machine Games to Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. That is a good fucking game as well. Let's see. Each of those titles have 6 nominations each in categories such as animation, art direction, and technical achievement. Beyond those 3 titles, Balatro and Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2 each picked up 5 nominations apiece. In total, AIAS says 60 games from the 2024 were nominated across its various categories. You can read the full list of nominees here with select examples listed below. I'm not going to read them all. Read the ones I have listed. Game of the Year, Astrobot, Team Asobi, PlayStation. Balatro, Local Thunk. Black Myth Wukong, Game Science. Helldivers 2, Arrowhead Game Studios, PlayStation. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Machine Games, Xbox. Outstanding Achievement in Game Direction, 1000 Times Resist, Sunset Visitor, Fellow Traveler, Animal Well, Billy Basso, Big Mode, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Simogo, Annapurna Interactive, Riven Cyan Worlds, Thank Goodness You're Here, Cold Supper, Panic, Outstanding Achievement in Game Design, Animal Well, Billy Basso, Big Mode, Astrobot, Team Asobi, PlayStation, Balatro, Local Thunk, Helldivers 2, Arrowhead Game Studios, PlayStation, UFO 50, Mossmouth, Online Game of the Year, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Treyarch, Activision Blizzard, Diablo 4, Vessel of the Hatred, Blizzard Entertainment, Helldivers 2, Arrowhead Game Studios, PlayStation, Marvel Rivals, NetEase Games, Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2, Saber Interactive. Outstanding Achievement in Character, Watcher, 1000 Times Resist, Yuffie Kisaragi, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Really? Dr. Henry, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Indica, from the game Indica, Senua and Senua's Saga, Hellblade 2. Mobile Game of the Year, Balatro, Local Thunk, Halls of Torment, Chasing Carrots, Monument Valley 3, Utso Games slash Netflix Games, Paper Trail, Newfangled Games, Wuthering Waves, Kuro Games, Alien Rogue Incursion, Survivals, and Batman Arkham Shadow, Camouflage Oculus, Skydance's Behemoth. I'm sorry, this is Immersive Reality Technical Achievement. So this would be AR, VR games. Skydance's Behemoth by Skydance, Starship Home, Creature, Underdogs, One Hamsa. So again, congrats to all those developers and those studios on outstanding achievements. It was a pretty good year for games considering the fact that it was kind of up and down and we had staggered releases and stuff like that. Years like I think it was 2018 and 2023 where we just got banger after banger after banger. You're going to see few and far of those years because everybody's trying to make the next big AAA like super big fucking game, and that doesn't work in a vacuum where you get games out every 2-3 years or something like that because the budgets have gotten bigger. The PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 generation, you got what, 4 Gears of War games that year? On that, and that, like, I'm sorry, in that console's life cycle, Gears, Gears 2, Gears 3, Gears Judgment, although a lot of people don't like Gears Judgment. Naughty Dog put out 4 games: Uncharted, Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3, and The Last of Us. And put out The Last of Us Left Behind DLC. Who else? Like, a lot, like, in that generation, they were tuning those things out. Like, you know, it was crazy that we only got 1 new game from Naughty Dog. I'm sorry, 2. 3, technically, during the PlayStation 4 generation. So, actually, that's not bad. We got, I'll just remove The Last of Us Remastered from that. We got Uncharted 4, we got The Last of Us Part 2, and we got Uncharted Lost Legacy. So we got 3 games from Naughty Dog. We have yet to get a brand new Naughty Dog title on the PlayStation 5, and we are 5 years this year into the console's life. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. We've got The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. We've got The Last of Us Part 1, the remake. Okay, well, it's not a new IP. We played the game. It's just built from the ground up for the PlayStation 5. We got the Uncharted Lost Legacy collection. I'm sorry, Legacy of Thieves collection. I'm sorry. Uncharted 4 and Uncharted Lost Legacy. So we're just not getting that output. I thought that better technology would help them and shorten the development cycles. They say that AI is going to do that now, so I don't know. I use AI to edit, to take out background noise and stuff like that here, so I don't have a problem with AI. And I just heard Beanie Siegel use AI to restore his voice for his new album. I thought it sounded incredible, fucking dope. So there are certain situations where I do think AI is an awesome thing. I don't know how this is going to work in gaming, but I'm excited to see it and see if it really can help with the long drawn out development cycles. I don't know. But anyway, that's all I've got for you guys today. I did not think the show was going to be this long, but you know, it is what it is. Again, by the time you guys hear this on Saturday on Patreon and Monday on the free feeds, if there is Nintendo information on the new console out there, I would have already covered it. So be sure to check for Patreon for that information, as well as YouTube. Anyway, I'm going to end this like I end everything else. Again, Happy New Year. Believe in yourself first and foremost, because if you don't believe in yourself, of course, nobody else will believe in you. As always, my name is Derrick Lamon Jackson, and that is my time. Y'all have a good one. Peace out.